everyone, welcome back to Naomi's Bookshelf. I am going to have a very fun discussion today with my friend Randy. This is my friend Randy. We have been bookish friends for a very long time. I don't even know how many years we've been bookish friends. It's been,
I want to say like 5.
I was gonna say 5 too, but it might even be more.
I think so. I think I met you around the same time I met my husband, so that makes sense. Or like
Seriously?
when I married my husband.
I know. I remember knowing you when you were at least engaged, if not dating.
Oh, okay. So
Because
more
you
than
were
5.
not married when I met you.
So more than 5.
It's been more than 5 then. Anyways. So people who are online don't care. But it's interesting for us. Anyway, so we met and we both are very bookish people. We both have very different bookish tastes though. If you are at all into Randy's bookish taste and you're a part of a book club, you will know that Randy has very different reading tastes than me. And we have
You
very
make it
similar.
sound like I read something like awful there. Like,
So people who watch my channel know I read like mysteries, I read classics, I read romance, and Randy reads like science fiction, dystopian,
young
YA.
adult fantasy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Very
it's
different.
great. We have a great friendship in spite of our reading differences. But we have something that connects us though, and that is our chronic pain. So I don't know if we want to talk about that first, Randy, just like our background. Do you want to talk about yours since you're new to the channel?
Yeah, because you've shared some of yours on your YouTube channel before, right?
Yeah, I'll give a little brief overview for anyone who's new, but you can share what you feel comfortable sharing about.
Okay, sure. I'll go first. So I have been living with chronic pain for, I think it's been about almost 15 years now. It started getting bad in my early 20s, just before my 20s. And it is currently still undiagnosed. So what I think it is hypermobility, which can come in a varying spectrum of degrees. And so I think it's this because I have found a lot of online groups and support systems, and I have learned from these groups and support systems that it's very common to be undiagnosed with this. On average, I think they say it takes about 10 years to be diagnosed. And that's with like actively seeking out said diagnoses and getting all these tests. And I think I fall into the lighter end of the spectrum. I definitely have a lot of chronic pain issues and it affects my health greatly and my daily life, but I don't fall into a disability category. Nothing has yet actually popped fully out of place. And so there's been nothing that's really taken me into the hospital or anything severe like that. So my doctors are just like, yeah, okay, you're hurting. But if we want to talk about doctors, that's a whole other
Doctors are another
that's
story.
a whole other video on itself. But so I've been dealing with chronic joint pain all over for about 15 years now.
Yeah. And then so for my brief overview, I have made a lot of dedicated videos about it. I'll link them down below in the description box. But I have suffered with daily chronic migraines for my entire life. I was officially diagnosed when I was 12 years old with headaches at least. And then when I was 16 was the migraines. And I, have just been trudging along. People are always surprised by it. And I now finally have a doctor who's it's just part of me, and I feel like I treat it like an amputation, or not amputation, but like a part of your body that's just been never been there, because people who, I knew someone growing up who was missing 3 middle fingers, like her 3 middle fingers, and it's not like she was suddenly woke up one day and was like, oh, I don't know how to hold a fork. It's like when she was 2, she had to learn how to hold a fork without her 3 middle fingers. So I feel like I just always had to learn how to live life with migraines, and so it's something you just learn with. And so that's just kind of how I've lived life, and it's been an experience that I wish I didn't have to have, but at the same time it's definitely connect me with a lot of people. So
Absolutely get that.
I I do understand the value of connecting with people, but I don't wish I had them at the same time. I wish I could get over them.
Chronic pain has opened up so many avenues and different things for me, and I've met so many different people and I've learned so many different things, and I've definitely like developed a whole new level of compassion and understanding and interest in medical things and so many things. I mean, like, it's a huge, like, it is the reason why I'm in the career that I'm in. And but I mean, like, if I could just not, I would also really love that.
Totally.
Really.
Yeah. So because we're both such book nerds, we have discovered a love-hate relationship when it comes to book representation of chronic illness when it comes to that. We were talking about it and how it's never represented well, or if it is represented in there, it just feels like, I don't know, it feels like token to me, where it's like, oh, it's just put in there and it never feels done right. So,
Or it's the main reason why they wrote the book and they're just reading a book about a mental or a physical illness.
yeah, and it just doesn't make sense. And I've done this where I've looked up books like books about headaches, you know, where people can be like books about blindness, and then there's these books that pop up in Google and it's like these characters that all have blindness, and with books about headaches they're all like, you know, how to change your diet. And I'm like, I didn't look up nonfiction books about how to change your diet. I looked up characters.
Yeah, I guess let's be more specific. We're upset that there's no representation in nonfiction. There's definitely a ton of books that'll try and tell you what you should do about a thing.
Completely.
One of those books.
And so it's not even like, for me, it's not even about the headaches and the migraines. It's about chronic pain in general, because I just feel as a whole that's not represented well in fiction books, because that's where my gripe is with fiction books.
Yeah.
You know?
They never just give characters like this, like, just give them like some kind of relatable flaw and let it affect their life and let it affect the story without being the main focus of the story. Or that's all I want.
I know there's going to be someone who comments down below who's saying, read Get a Life, Chloe Brown. And it's like, I have, and I will say that book was really well done, because in that book she has fibromyalgia and she does not let it rule her life. And at the moment, like, the book takes off because she is always scared to rule her life, or rule her life, like do things in her life because of her fibromyalgia, which I understand, because like, I'm scared to make plans because of migraines and all these things. And like, I totally saw myself in those aspects, which I really appreciated as well. That book was really great for representation. But at the same time, I was also like, I get it. And I'm so excited about that. So I was really happy. But I was also really happy that it was like not just about her fibromyalgia. It was also about her just like being like, oh, I need to go camping and I need to do this and I need to do something crazy.
Yes, it just brings so much, like, you just have to understand that these people are people that just do things as well while dealing with. And it just kind of like brings up like, well, she had to think about a thing a little bit more before she did it.
And I was like, I didn't love that book. Also clarify that. I didn't love the book. It was just like tropey for me. But I was like, I just really appreciate the fact that the author went there and was like, you know what? I'm going to write a book about someone with chronic pain. And she still lived her life, you know?
And I read a lot of young adult books. That's my genre preferred. Personally, I just like them because I think more happens. Adult books are kind of boring. I like, young adult books, there's always some kind of action. And so I'm reading a lot about these like younger characters, and there's so very little representation in any of it. So like these poor younger people who are dealing with these issues at the times when we started dealing with our issues and not knowing anything about them or having anything to connect to, there's so little for them to even kind of like look at.
It's so true.
Like,
and
I think there's decent representation of cancer. I've seen
there's lots of that.
books that talk about cancer. There's a ton of that. And I mean, even disability, like you don't get a ton of.
I know.
I would just love to have like a disabled character in a book, and it's not about their disability, but they're just coming along for the adventure.
Yeah, and I do know that I've heard A Curse So Dark and Lonely has great disability rep. I've heard that one, but I
The
haven't
author
read it myself.
was,
It's
who's the author?
called A Curse So Dark and Lonely, and it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. But I haven't heard it. I haven't read it yet. So maybe we'll
I
have
should
to
have
schedule
the
that for book
notepad
club.
here to like start writing more because I knew you were going to mention more and suggest things.
But guess what? This is on YouTube.
Oh, wait, it's recorded. I can look back.
Exactly. So don't worry, Randy. but yeah, so I do know that one has or I've heard that at least. So
I
that's
think
a
so
YA
far,
one.
as far as young adult books go, my top pick for like representation is always going to be Percy Jackson.
Totally.
Every Percy Jackson book I have read, there's been a character who was disabled, was dealing with a illness, or I mean, just even like in all of the different diversity levels, different gender representation, different like race representation, all of it. Percy Jackson did such a good job at covering so much. That's the first one that I'd always recommend to a young person.
And I think the fact that Riordan, he's like, yeah, I do that. And like, he writes all of these characters and he just writes all of these stories. But then not only that, he's like, now that I'm famous and like my voice is like, people will listen to me, I'm going to amplify these voices of people of color and amplify these authors. Like, I think that's just so admirable. I'm like, go Rick Riordan.
So important. I wish, like, I mean, that's one of the biggest messages that I'm seeing in different minorities posts and stories and stuff, is that what they would really, really like is if we would share theirs. I mean, you and I are both obviously, like, other than our chronic illnesses, we don't fit into a ton of minority categories.
Completely.
Visually, and I'll be honest, I'm cis, and I look how I feel, and I'm pretty basic as far as those things go. I don't fit into a lot of minorities. So whenever I'm given the chance, I personally choose to, like, I don't want to tell somebody else's story. I want to have them tell their story and come be in front of my people to like spread the knowledge. More faces out there.
I just want to amplify like other stories, and like that's also something else about chronic pain. I wish people who had chronic pain were able to write stories and like just be able to share their stories and people would actually read them, because
oh my gosh, try writing
that
chronic pain.
But like I read a book by an author who is like a Christian suspense author, and she was like, yeah, I have Lyme's disease, and she wrote a book about a person who has Lyme's disease, and I was like, I can't believe it. And like she told it in the author's note, she's like, yeah, by the way, I actually have this, and like this is like her 5th book that she wrote, and I was like yay. And not only that, but it's like its own voices, and you're like out and open and like proud about it, and I was just like so happy to read about this. And I was like, can't we have more of these people, please? Like,
but like, I don't know, have you ever tried to do much writing?
Like, I know it's hard, like, don't get me wrong, I know.
A couple years ago I did NaNoWriMo. For anybody who doesn't know what that is, you have to look it up. It's an amazing writing challenge. It was so much fun. I won. I didn't finish my book, but I won that month.
I helped you with your plotting.
I wrote 50,000 words. That was the goal. Part of my hypermobility, I have really bad wrists. Like I have bad tendonitis. It hurt. It was hard. It was hard to sit down and write that. And I think that that's like probably the secretly like real reason why we don't have this representation, because, and I mean, like my pain was less bad then. It was mostly in my wrists, but now like the idea of like sitting for that length of time and having the mental focus on it without brain fog and anxiety that's kicking in, and for my hands couldn't do it. Like I just literally could not physically write that thing.
No, and I totally understand it. Like I totally get it completely. I'm just like, I wish people who actually wrote books like that would be amplified then by authors or by people who are like, hey, guess what? This author wrote this book about chronic pain, and guess what? Their own voices. It's not just people who are like, hey, guess what? This book is about a person of color, and it's by a person of color. Like, I don't want just that own voices. Like, I want chronic pain own voices represented like widely in the community too.
If you're gonna write about a minority situation, I always ask first whether they are in like Are they of that race? Do they have that disability? Are they representing their voice, or are they just sharing somebody else's story?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll often pass on things where I don't want to read a book about somebody else just sharing somebody else's story. That's not interesting to me.
You know, it was actually really interesting. This is completely off the topic, but what really, this is what happens also, just when he's watching, we get off topic a lot together. But when I was in our local library's book club, I suggested a romance book novel because it's a romance book club, and we were going to read The Kissing Quotient, and the librarian was like, so wait, is it Own's Voices? Because of the autism representation. And I was like, instantly, not only did I want to stay a part of that book club, but she went up in my esteem as the librarian who's leading the book club, because she asked about Own Voices representation of the autism's representation.
We just need so many more people asking that question. That's all. That's like,
mm-hmm.
I ask so little of the world. I just want people to be like curious about these things. Ask, like, and like, I mean, you have to think too, like, writing is a job, it's a business. These people are making money off of the stories they are telling. Are they telling their own story, or are they profiting off of somebody else's experience? And that just kind of like, it means so much to me. If I'm going to put my money anywhere, and I'm the type of person who buys books because I can't deal with time limits and due dates and late fees at libraries. I love my libraries and I support them greatly. And I join book clubs and I take out books when I can. But honestly, I'm just a slow reader, so I can't deal with time limits. But so I buy a lot of books, and I like that I get to support these authors too. Like every time I buy those books, I'm supporting these people to keep doing a thing that they love doing. I'm not going to support people profiting off of other people's stories.
Completely. It's something so important, but at the same time, I come to that conclusion of, if no one's writing the chronic pain stories, will I just take a chronic pain story?
Yeah.
Because, especially if it's represented well, but so often I feel like it just comes across as someone is just writing the story because, oh, I need to like check off a box for diversity. So let me put in someone who is in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And then it comes off really cringy to me. And I just really dislike that when it's like, it comes off gross when it just feels icky, it makes you feel that way. And I know it just, ugh.
Yeah. I don't want to feel like you just threw it in because you had to. And like, I don't want to feel like the person was just like a token in your story. Like,
yeah.
No, I never loved that. Like, it just, if the whole thing is about diversity and you're covering your bases and everything, and like, that's the whole point, then awesome. And bringing those voices up. But yeah, if you're just like, oh yeah, I should throw in a person of color, or I should throw in a person with a disability. It's very rarely ever a person with chronic pain. I throw in like, I mentioned race and disability because those are like far more likely to actually be seen. Very rarely, I don't think ever, have I really seen somebody just throw in with like, they have chronic pain. Unless, and I think we were talking about this too, unless they have the issue and then are magically cured of it so that they can go live that normal life. I think you told me that had a name?
I don't remember the name of it. And if anyone remembers it and they're watching this, like, please comment it down below. But it's where they're magically cured because they go to like a fairyland or something. And it's like a really bad representation of
like a person in a wheelchair going and suddenly being able to walk, like,
it's
see, really, or
and it's like, why do they do that in fairy tales?
Yeah, just let them have that piece about them, because it's a piece about them.
It's supposed to represent them being cured because they went, and it's like, that's just a part of their personality, or this is not a part of their personality, but it's part of them. Like, if I were to go to a magical fairyland, like, and suddenly lose my headache.
Let's not get me wrong. I wouldn't mind if they just cured me magically.
But then that's saying that's something wrong about you, as if that's the problem with you. Yeah. And that's not a problem with you.
No.
It's just part of your body.
It just means we're going to go on this adventure a little slower.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I can just picture, like, I think back to some of the books that I've read where they're like going on this grand adventure where they're trekking through the forest and up mountains and over hills and on these adventures and they're fighting. And that's like 90% of like what I read is like those kind of books. And I'm just kind of picturing them like if I was that main character, like, you know, they get in this huge fight one day and then they're not even limping the next day. Even when there is no magic, they just like forget about it. They forget about the actual toll that life takes on our bodies. That like you can't actually just be in a giant battle one day and then be like trekking up a mountain the next without like something.
Yeah, or they're like, yeah, you know, we just gotta like cut up and everything, and they're like, oh, we'll just put a band-aid on it, and then they keep going. It's like, I don't know how your body works, but mine would take longer to heal from that. I'm not even someone who deals with like back pain typically. I mean, I do have some back pain, but that's not like as bad as chronic back pain and like some people's problems. So it's different.
Yeah, you just never see it. And I'm never sure too, like, I mean, I would love the representation and to see it a little bit more, but I mean, like, my life's not that exciting.
Yeah.
I don't get to do half of the things that I want to do, and I end up canceling plans a lot. And I worry that, like, I mean, like, could we not? I mean, obviously, my life's not that exciting, but I mean, like, we could jazz it up a little if I was a different kind of person that maybe like did go out a little bit more often and not just a bookish introvert. But like, they could make it more interesting, but I fear that they just don't write about it because they just don't think it would be interesting enough. But
Yeah.
all the people that deal with that kind of issue would absolutely find that interesting enough.
Yeah, and I feel like we just need books out there about characters who like, because we can like there are romance novels that could have a character who have a chronic illness. There like or chronic pain. There are characters who could have like those in mysteries, and like we don't need them. There could be fantasy books where yes, it takes a little slower on the quest, but it could be done. Like, you know, there could be these storylines that have these amazing
Nice to like
things.
see the other characters making the accommodations needed for a person.
And it's not like
And
we
like
ask for the world. We just ask for a little bit.
it would show compassion. It would show that it's like it's totally doable. It's
Mm-hmm.
not the big inconvenience some people see it as being.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
And even if it's like a book by a caregiver of someone who has a chronic pain illness or something, I would be like, that's something I would consider own voice enough where you're like, I see the journey and I'm with beside someone with the journey. So I want to be there. Like, I want to write the story of someone on the journey with someone, you know?
absolutely. I mean, like, I am a caregiver part-time and a personal trainer part-time, and I work with a lot of different people with disabilities. And yeah, like, and I know so many of them would just love to hear that. Like, maybe they can't physically tell it because they can't physically do the typing, but they would love to have that story written for them by the people that are closest to them.
Mm-hmm.
And if I thought I could sit down and write again.
Yeah, no, I think it's just one of those
The
things
brain
where,
fog alone won't
yeah,
let me. There's no way I can keep a book straight anymore.
I think there's just so many stories that could be written that potentially could have those characters because even right now, like I can't even think of books to say that have those characters because
So
I don't.
shout out to the authors watching. We want to see
Please write books like these.
If you
Because
think that all of the stories have been written, you're sorely mistaken. There's a huge population that would like to see some stories written.
oh, completely. Like just check this out. I have a Goodreads shelf going right now where I'm like every time I read a book that has a good representation of migraines or headaches, I put a book in there, even if it's literally for a chapter, like or a scene. I put it in there because there's so little out there. It's literally 30 books long, and I've read so many books.
Yeah, I think, I mean, like, I've come across like maybe like 5 quotes in my like hundreds of books that I've read that even made me feel like somebody understood what it is to chronically be in pain. Because there's a big difference. Like, I mean, like I said, I read a lot of action books. They're describing acute pain all the time, but it is proper description of what it is like to be in chronic pain. Even if it
Mm-hmm.
was just, even if it was just a paragraph or a chapter of a person, I'd love it.
Yeah. No, it's something that we want a lot of, and we've been discussing, and it was like, let's make a video about this because Randy does have a channel. So I will link her channel down below to anyone who's watching. And she makes a lot of fitness videos, and we will be actually filming a video on her channel about fitness in regards to chronic migraines, interviewing me. So
Because
yay.
not only is there not enough representation in books, but there is certainly not enough representation in the fitness industry.
Yeah. So that's something that we will be doing actually right after now, but we'll see if the videos come out on the same day. You'll have to check it out.
We'll see if I get that. Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So that's just kind of where we wanted to talk about books about chronic pain, chronic illness. I also kind of want to plug our Fierce Women's Book Club here. We have one with, well, I have one with Kate Howe and Melina from Melina Reads. We are reading one chronically ill woman throughout history, a biography or nonfiction of her per month or every 2 months. Brain fog is real, like Randy was saying. So I don't know who July and August women will be, but you can check out the name of the woman down below in the description box, and that will be something there. We are doing a Discord now. So
I really hope that when we look back at this video, we just get like a massive amount of comments of books that we just haven't found yet.
Yes, please
do
maybe recommend us books.
Hopefully we secretly think that there's not enough representation, but we just haven't found the books yet. So please send us some recommendations. I want to read so much more.
And I have heard that Six of Crows has great representation.
It was pretty good. Like yes and no. Like the main character, he has a limp, and that does, like, he does all the things with his limp and his cane, and it is I would say that one was a really good representation of somebody who he had an injury and that was lasting with him. And you'll see those every once in a while. I think that's like a most common one, like somebody, but it's usually like they got a badass injury from the war, and
I'm okay with those because those are chronic.
Absolutely. It's the same thing.
Those are chronic illness, like, or those are chronic pain where there's like those stick with them forever.
He was still like, I kind of felt like there was some times where he was like limping away from one situation and then all of a sudden doing some like badass fighting in the next, and you're kind of like, well, how did you even? But I mean, I don't know everybody's situation. Maybe it's possible. Adrenaline.
Well, I mean, speaking from personal experience, not like I go into like fighting war situations, but sometimes I feel like I'm really low headache energy wise. And then like at work, working with kids, if in case anyone doesn't know, but like really low energy wise, I'm like, I'm dying of a headache. I can't do anymore. And then suddenly 2 kids are like ready to pull each other's hair out, or they try to start kissing because that has happened. And then suddenly you get this burst of energy to run over there and remove them from each other.
Interrupting love, Naomi.
Yeah, you know, it is what it is. So times you just have enough where it's like, yes, you have a chronic illness or the chronic pain, and you just go like, you know what? The day's not done.
We rally. I'm fairly certain that I live daily with more pain that would, like, if you didn't feel this pain every day for the last 15 years like I have, and you suddenly felt the way my body feels right now, and today is a really good day, actually, if you still felt the way I feel, you'd be either in bed or just like on the couch upset about it, or probably checking into your doctor. Like, and that's the thing. But like, I still have a part-time job working as a support worker, and I'm a personal trainer. I stay active as much as I can because I have to. I rally. This is my life, and we
build an endurance in it. And I think that's something where it's like, when it comes to characters in books where they're like, hey, yeah, I can do this, and then they like, okay, and I crash, and then it's like, oh wait, gotta get back up and do things. It's like, I could see that because every day at my lunch break, I like crash. And then an hour later, because I have an hour lunch break, I get back up and I keep going because I don't have the option to go and like keep crashing. I just get back up and keep going on with life. So I get it. But at the same time, I don't go and like fight people. I just separate children who are trying to hug and kiss. So different
And
kind of
2-year-olds
fighting.
are feisty, but they don't have guns, so that's nice.
No, they just have teeth.
Oh, kids.
Anyways,
Not for me.
anyways, I
No,
think we're gonna.
okay. So hopefully authors write us more books and everybody else give us more recommendations.
Please do. We're gonna wrap it up here. Like I said, Randy's channel down below. The Fierce Ones Book Club down below if you want to join. The name of the new book will be down below as soon as we have it, and the woman who will be about. And we will also have a video over on Randy's channel about chronic headaches and how life goes with that. So I will have the link to that as well down below once it is live. So I hope that you go and check it out there with Randy, and you should also subscribe to Randy. Please go do that too. I will see you next time with another video. And if you're from our book club and you're watching, just give a wave in the comments or say hello.
Club.
All right. Bye for everyone, and we'll see you next time with another video.